right, here we go. Hey, everybody. Sean here from Never Free to Play. So last time you got just my camera video, and now this time you get just me, evidently. Uh, Robert is otherwise busy. Jason is on travel, and Karch is not feeling good. So yeah, we're just gonna sit here and chat a little bit. In a moment, I'm gonna get to building a Skyrim load order. But hey, things worth talking about. We've got some news that kind of dropped recently that I think would be fun to talk about. So we'll start off with the most recent and potentially the saddest of them. Uh, Reorganize my screen here real fast. Boop. All right. But yeah, right there. No E3 this year, whether digital or otherwise. Kind of a sad thing. So they previously announced we weren't getting an in-person E3, as we also did not in 2021. We got no E3 in 2020 due to COVID-19 and their inability to quickly pivot. And then they've now come out and said there will also not be a digital E3 this year. So no E3. They are claiming, if you check down further, this is IGN's article, that they will be back in 2023 with a reinvigorated showcase. So not quite the death knell for sure of E3, but I can't feel anything but that it's bad signs to come. Karch, Jason and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. I mean, obviously, we have Jeff Keighley's Summer of Gaming, which is nice, but it tends to be so kind of spread out. And yeah, I mean, I guess in all fairness, you got Elden Ring announcement, big reveal there last year on it, but it doesn't feel like you get the same oomph you do with AE3. That said, there's probably a little bit of nostalgia there too, because it's not like you E3 of pre-COVID-19. Let's say in 2019 was the same E3 that we got 5-10 years ago. What with a lot of developers dropping out of it. But it was always nice that even with developers not being a part of it, it concentrated a bunch of big announcements around the same time, which we don't quite get with the Summer of Gaming since it's spread out over the whole summer. So I don't know. We'll see. Sad to see no E3. Not totally surprised. Would not be surprised if it also doesn't come back in 2023 and E3 is a thing of the past. So. Next bit of news is also a bit of sad ones, although not too surprising, I think, to a lot of us. So, Breath of the Wild sequel, still as of yet unnamed, delayed until 2023. I'll be honest, I hadn't even realized that Nintendo had confirmed it was coming out in 2022. I know we all were like, it has to come out in 2022, right? I hadn't realized we got a confirmation for 2022 that Nintendo was then able to delay. So, bummer there. Not all that surprising. Nintendo games, especially their big titles. It was always a surprise to me that Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey launched as timely as they did. And part of me looking back at it wonders if maybe the Switch's launch was somewhat finagled to make sure that those games, although probably not. But Nintendo has never shied away from wanting to take that extra time to make sure that they get the product that they desire. So, yeah, no Breath of the Wild. One nice thing about it, not a lot of new footage, except for one little clip, which is kind of screenshot right there. A lot of people zeroing in on your corroded, corrupted, Master Sword. So, will we be going on yet another quest to reinvigorate the Master Sword? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I find interesting those also Link's arm. So if you remember in the footage we have seen, Link's arm gets grabbed by something dark and shadowy and kind of tweely looking, and he's got a very mechanical, just above the elbow down there with it, that tattoo spreading. Very, the curse of the demon from Princess Mononoke to me. So be interesting to see where all that plays up. Is the corruption of the Master Sword also, because of the corruption that's occurring there in Link. So as always, you give me a drip of speculation, or any of us a drip of speculation, and we will go crazy trying to figure out what is indicated. And last bit of news I want to talk about before we'll jump into some Skyrim talk is some better news, which is PlayStation has finally announced their Game Pass streaming service, previously known as Project Spartacus. And this is their all new PlayStation Plus. I've seen it called PlayStation Plus 2.0, although not by Sony themselves. Although it would be nice because not like their naming convention for their various services wasn't already too confusing. And now basically we have one that encapsulates all of them. But this is going to be Sony's big things. It's a tiered service. So you've got Essential, which is their current PlayStation Plus, which is just letting you sit there and download games. You get your 2 monthly free games. Your Xbox Live Gold equivalent. PlayStation Plus Extra gives you 400 PS4 and PS5 games that can be downloaded anytime. And that, so just right there, let's talk about that. So Game Pass, as I recall, only has about 450 games on it, and that is everything from the Xbox to the Xbox Series. So you're encapsulating four generations of consoles there. This is just PS4 and PS5 and 400 games. So that's a lot of games across just well, that's really one console generation where we are now, because there's only a handful of games they even could be PS5 exclusives. But that's impressive, and as I recall, not something terribly new. Now the price there is interesting. It's $14.99 monthly, which is on par with Game Pass Ultimate, which gives you the PC and the Xbox, but it is $100 yearly, which actually puts it underneath the price of Game Pass Ultimate. And then you go up to the PlayStation Plus Premium, which is all those PS4, PS5 games, plus 340 games from PS1, PS2, PSP games, which you can stream and download, as well as streaming of PS3 games, because that dang, whatever set was it, cell architecture, the weird architecture they decided to build their PS3 on, that apparently makes it a pain in the butt. So now you're exceeding the amount of games on Game Pass, and then probably the bit that I find the most interesting here is this last bit, and PC. So obviously Game Pass is one of its great appeals is, in addition to being able to play and stream on your Xbox One, your Xbox Series, your Android phone, and your PCs, allow you to take it everywhere. So this is new, being able to stream at least I think it is, being able to stream these games onto a PC. So now you can play. I guess you can't stream the PS4, PS5 games, but you can basically stream everything up to PS3. On your PC. So that's kind of huge. That's potentially a large catalog of games that where potentially a lot of them have never been released on anything but a PlayStation console that you can actually go play on your PC. Obviously the price monthly more expensive than Game Pass, but they give you that yearly rate, which actually makes it $60 a year less expensive than Game Pass. Be interested to see what people think about it. Be interested to see how it does, how the execution, the stream works. Obviously, Microsoft seems to have Game Pass working in a pretty great place. I think last I saw, Game Pass is over like 20 million, like almost like 23, 24 million subscribers, which is nuts to me because last time I looked at it, which was admittedly sometime last year, it was like 8 million. So it's obviously just exploded. Sony brings a lot of impressive exclusives, right? So arguably could be the better service, unless you want to be playing on your cell phone, especially with a better price. That's actually one thing I'm hoping this will do. Microsoft, actually, that's probably a bit of news I also should have talked about. Microsoft, it's been soft confirmed, I guess, that Microsoft will be releasing a Xbox Game Pass Ultimate family plan. That'll let you do up to 5 people, and it'll be cheaper than 5 annual subscriptions. I hope that's nice. What I also hope is, since this PlayStation Plus is being offered with annual rates, that we'll finally see that again for Microsoft, like we have seen for Xbox Live Gold, but we never got that with Game Pass. So it'd be nice, instead of paying my $15 a month, I can pay $100 a year and get Game Pass for the full year and save myself $80 or whatever price they settle on. But because I see them being forced to do that, just because Sony's going to beat them out on price with that yearly rate. Say the fact that it's an impressive offering. So things heating up in the streaming. I've seen some people say this is Hulu to Game Pass's Netflix. I'm not sure it's quite that disparate. I think this has the potential to be a pretty hefty competition. Obviously, the one big thing is Sony has come out and said that this is not going to have day in release of their exclusives. Really comes, are you willing to wait? Let's face it, right now, it's not like there's a ton of exclusives besides Halo and Forza that Microsoft has dropped as of late. So I don't know. I'll be interested to track the numbers as we go forward. But yeah, that's your quick news update. Maybe I'll break this out into its own thing and post it. Who knows? As I sit here and play a talking head and happily chat all of the night to my 0 concurrent viewers. But here at Never Free to Play, and by that I mean here in the life of Sean, the one thing that we're truly passionate about is Skyrim. So I haven't played Skyrim in a while. I actually don't even have Skyrim installed on my Xbox Series S or my PC right now. I had actually deleted it in an attempt to purge myself of my addiction for a little bit. But yeah, the itch comes back. Honestly, ever since I beat the Mass Effect trilogy, and with the exclusion of when I played through Mass Effect Andromeda, just been kind of having a hard time getting in the games, and so decided, you know what, let's go back and maybe play some Skyrim, and stay in that comfort zone for a little while, and then maybe I'll step out and find myself reinvigorated for games. But the thing is, if you're gonna play Skyrim, you gotta play Skyrim with mods, because ain't nobody want to play vanilla Skyrim. And so this is how you play Skyrim, especially on the Xbox with mods. And you might be asking, Sean, you're clearly streaming on at least a somewhat competent PC. Why aren't you playing Xbox or playing Skyrim on the PC? And the answer is because my wife asked me not to. Turns out she rather enjoys when I'm downstairs in the living room playing Skyrim on one of our TVs down there, because she likes taking a nap to the music. We all love that. All love that Skyrim music. I love quality time with my wife. We kind of we actually have 2 TVs in our living room. The idea being is, she can be watching a show on Netflix or Hulu or what have you, and I can have my headphones on, plugged into my controller, and me playing a video game, and we get to enjoy time together while still doing our own thing. So kind of the interest of doing that instead of diving fully into the deep end and seeing where that leads me of modding Skyrim on PC. I'm still modding Skyrim on Xbox. Now the Xbox Series S has made that actually a little bit easier because obviously the additional capability compared to back when I was doing it on an Xbox One and FPS boost and what have you. Still a lot of limitations on modding mine on an Xbox, obviously. So if you've never modded an Xbox, get ready for a quick breakdown on some of the limitations and some of the things you have to do in order to make sure that thing is going to work. So compared to a PC, you don't get all of the what is, for all intensive purposes, since there are actual some limitations on PC, but for intensive purposes, all of the room that your hard drive can handle. When you install Skyrim, it partitions out a 5 gigabyte space, and that is your Skyrim modded or Skyrim mod space. Now that doesn't include things like the Creation Club content. That's all separate. Basically, the Creation Club content is already installed on it, and it's when you purchase it, it just basically flips a switch, so now it'll appear in your game. So this is just mods that you're downloading, and you're also only limited to 150 mods. There's a few other things. So if you're modding Skyrim on PC, there's a thing called SKSE. It's the Skyrim Script Extender. It's actually a separate program that runs alongside your Skyrim. So scripts are things that kind of manage the actions of NPCs and background and lookups and checks, and a lot of the kind of behind the scenes within Skyrim's engine that's going on. Skyrim has a hard limit on how many scripts it can use. The script extender allows you to essentially run more scripts. However, Xbox doesn't let you run outside software that affects games that are playing. So there is no Skyrim script extender on Xbox, no SKSE. That limits a lot of some of the more complex mods that make some pretty foundational changes to Skyrim. Some of the more, I don't know if I'd say foundational, but some of the more advanced changes. One of those key ones being Sky UI, which is a user interface change, and particularly being able to overhaul the somewhat lackluster, inefficient use of screen space, inventory management of Skyrim. However, the one that really hurts you the most is if you ever get deep into PC Skyrim modding, you're going to find that mods have conflicts. They both change the same value or the same item or the same NPC or something in a cell within a game. And if you are doing things right on a PC, you'll download a load order manager, a mod manager, and that will help you identify these conflicts and set your priorities. And also, people out there will make wire, basically we're called was it wire bashes, but basically bash patches in order to, on their own, make patches for their load order to make everything play nicely. We don't have a load order manager in Skyrim, and so the way it works, in fact, if you look at my screen here, you can see this is an older Xbox One or Xbox Series S loader. This is the one I actually ran for a very long time, for probably about 100 hours of gameplay. And I've got a whole order. So the way that would read is, so this is your unofficial Elder Scrolls Skyrim patch, and then Campfire. This is loaded first, and then everything is loaded sequentially after that. And so, the last thing in my load order is alternate start. So alternate start is if it conflicts with anything above it, alternate start, whatever it changes, it makes prioritize. So this actually creates a thing when it comes to playing Skyrim called the logical load order. And so I'll talk about this with my mod categories here. Logical load order was something put together by the Skyrim community, or the Skyrim Xbox modding community. And the idea is it kind of creates this order, and this is the general way in which you should be installing. Spelled lanterns there. You should be installing your mods in order to basically reduce the chances that your game being unstable and having crashes, or just Skyrim not wanting to load, or what have you. And in general, what it tends to be is your most general, most wide-ranging affecting mods go first, and they get progressively more complex. So obviously master files, foundations, menus aren't going to get really overwritten. Shouldn't get overwritten by other things, but play throughout the entire game, and then you start you go down and you start seeing, okay, multiple exterior edits, single area edits, multiple area exterior edits, unique items to locations. However, that's more specific than just items and items and level loot list. The idea is, in general, these are where you're most likely to find your conflicts, and if you do them in this order, it's most likely to result in the overwrite that's going to give you a stable game. So whereas a Skyrim PC mod developer is going to certainly spend countless time downloading way more mods than we can on the Xbox. They have the benefit of that load order and making the patches, and they're pretty much good to go. We will spend on the Xbox Skyrim modding community forever tweaking our load orders and moving one or two mods around, loading into the game with a fresh save, running around, seeing where we get crashes. Can we recreate the crashes? Is it just Skyrim being Skyrim and crashing, or is it, are we consistently crashing at the same event over and over again, and therefore it indicates some kind of dire conflict within our load orders that we have to then go and resolve. It's a pain in the butt, but it's also a lot of fun. And I will say, I talked about, we get less mods because of the limitations. Still get pretty good roundup of mods. So you saw, what was a long lore I did here. I love this. I love tiny houses. Tiny houses is actually an Xbox only mod. It hasn't gotten released on PC, and it's great. It lets you build little tiny houses, like a handful of tiny houses anywhere in Skyrim, and it puts map markers, and it uses the hearth fire build up. But if you go through here, you see the character creation overhaul, Frostfall, and Campfire, because I love my survival. Things like Andromeda, which is Anti-Sizon's, his whole series mod. This does the Standing Stones. Ordinator is his other one for perk overhaul. Odin is one of his two magic arts, his vanilla +1. Summer Mist is his enchantment overhauls. I guess so. Awesome artifacts overhauling. Some of the magic item community things, and then actually I got a fairly good amount here. Making my sky better, making my outside prettier, making my with Firelines, making my people prettier, and then a bunch that actually make individual items and buildings and whatnot in the game, trees, mountains, all prettier. It was nice. I was able to actually start doing a lot of this with the Xbox Series S, because my Xbox One just didn't have the VRAM, especially with the way that Xbox One handled its VRAM in order to do a lot of this. But I have some opinions in here as well. But point being, you can make a pretty customized game. This order was intended to primarily focus on a survival hunter, a character who was eventually going to find themselves to be Dragonborn was going to go do obviously I got some Serenoholic and I've got Serena Dialogue add on. Was going to go do Dawnguard and kind of live that life. Um, what was interesting is initially though, when mods were ported to Bethesda.net, because that's the only place you can download. You gotta log into Bethesda through the game launcher in order to download the mods. They pretty much were just one for one ports of mods off the Xbox, and then because of our limited space and our limited our hardware limitations, people started get permission to take some mods, and the first thing you really saw was you start seeing light versions of mods. So actually, you can see that vanilla armor replacer, guard armor replacer. These are the Nordwar UA, who kind of does a more like high medieval swap out for a lot of the armors. These are both around 500 gigabytes, the regular version, and they're full. I think they're 1 or 2K textures, but yeah, got limitations. Space tends to be a big thing, and so light versions came out. We were able to get light versions ported that were compressed, that were only 512 instead of 1K. Save us some space, but still give us something a lot better than we were looking at. That was the first advancement, but then you start seeing right before I took a break, something really cool, and so you start seeing things like these bundles. This literacy bundle, and I think that's the main one I have here. You see Kind's Weather. Kind's Weather is a great example. Kind's Weather and Lighting all in one. So 90.7 megabytes. It's my only weather mod. You go back to my other load order, and for my weather mod, I had 3. Obsidian Mountains Fog, which gives you kind of these far distance fog that just make the game feel have a little more depth, kind of hide some of what in general are not. If you can see the full mountains, it's not so great. Kind of hides that and also adds to the feeling of Skyrim being this cold place. Cathedral Weather and Seasons, which is a really great full on weather mod, but then and also natural clouds. And those 3 combined got me the weather effect I needed for, basically 95, 96 megabytes. Well, basically these 3 are combined and optimized in this mod. So of my limited 150 mod slots, I just got 2 back, and because they were loaded and optimized, I also got 5 megabytes back. And that has continued extensively, it turns out, in the months that I've been away, to the point where you get things like reconciliation, which is this 51 megabytes, but it's a bunch of little mods. It's like 200 little mods all added together to kind of tweak in game and get the game running better. And things like, I don't think I've actually put it in here yet. Actually, I think I have put it in recently. But Scales Like Broadswords is a total dragon overhaul. So instead of I had several mods to make dragons more like them, this basically does all that. And so what we're seeing is I'm actually currently developing a load order. You can see I'm in the midst of building. I'm actually out of space because this, I get my 5 gigabytes of space. So that's it in megabytes. That's out of the 5 gigabytes, and I'm over. But I've got a lot of extra mod slot open. So I can tweak things around, maybe get a couple smaller mods, that are only kilobytes or, a couple megabytes once I work things out. And the idea here being that I can get something much more, I can fit more in because of these bundles. Now, obviously, the bundles tend to be themed. This one is excessive. Or not excessive, but it is expansive. Like True Dragonborn, that'll get covered, I think, by replacement. Yeah, right there, Skills Like Broadswords. But you have a great one here that I recently added. Shalador's Armaments. So this is Artifacts Enhanced, and this is actually like 8 or 10 enchantment related. So things like making the enchantments on the unique items in Skyrim better, giving them better appearances, allowing any enchantment to go on any item. All things that that I'd like to have that previously I would have had to have done with individual mods that were fairly tiny. Let's face it, changing the coding in Skyrim to say all enchantments can go on any items is probably a kilobyte or maybe even just a bite-sized mod. And so instead, I get it all in one. And now, if I want to go find some other stuff, I can. And get just that much more of a customized experience, even on the Xbox. So, yeah, I have a lot of work left to do on this. I'm sure no one wants to just sit around and watch me peruse Bethesda.net. But if you're looking at a quick overview on how to build a Skyrim Xbox load order, hopefully this gets you started. Feel free to hit me up with any questions. Hey, Crimson. I'm actually just wrapping up, man. But if you're looking to mod Skyrim, go check out Reddit. There's a Skyrim mods Xbox subreddit that is extremely helpful. We'll walk you through all this stuff in greater detail. But yeah, I'm gonna call that night. Sadly, once again, I am without the others, so you get this little talking head episode. But hopefully enjoyed it. Crimson, have a good night, man. And as always, I am never free to play. Doot.